So much for joining us. My name is Dan Gomez-Palacio. I'm Director of Career Services. I am really excited to be able to talk with you today, and I want to send a big thank you to Keith and Caroline and Kiana and everyone at Alumni for helping put this together. So a little bit about myself. As I mentioned, I'm Dan Gomez-Palacio. I've been here since 2010. I started off as Assistant Director, and in 2014 took over the Director role. I'll talk a little bit about what we do in career services at the end. A few housekeeping tips. If you have any questions, please enter them into the chat. We've got someone monitoring the chat, and if it's pertinent to what we talk about, we can answer it in real time. Otherwise, we can hold off until the end. My presentation is going to last maybe 20, 25, 30 minutes. At the end, I will be happy to stick around and answer any questions that you have, either specific questions about your situation or just general questions about the topic. And then you will have my email address. You've got my email address right here on the title screen, as well as my phone number. Feel free to contact me with any questions that you have or any ways that we can be of help. So thank you again, everyone, for coming today. What we are going to talk about, this is part one of this semester's alumni events. We've got another one coming up pretty soon about interviewing as well. That would be done by my colleague, Tiffany Martin. So keep an eye out for that. So today we are going to talk about modern job searching, and we chose this topic because I've been speaking with a lot of alumni recently that are re-entering the job market after either not having to search for a job for quite some time. And if that applies to you and you've started looking for a job, it can feel a little bit like jumping into the middle of the ocean. There's a lot of information out there, a lot of websites vying for your attention, a lot of resources that want to grab you. And so what I wanted to do today was just talk about some of the ways, some of the resources, some of the methods, and some of the ideas that could go behind searching for a job today. It's not going to be completely exhaustive. There'll be other resources and other ideas that might fit your specific situation, but this is going to give you hopefully a good overall viewpoint of it. So to get started, first of all, before you start looking for a job or as you're starting through the process, there's two things that I'm really going to impress that's going to be very important as you kick off this process. One is going to be having your resume updated and ready to go. If it's been a while since you've searched for a job, or even if it hasn't been a while, chances are your resume needs to be updated. We in the Career Services Office look at hundreds, if not thousands, of resumes per year, and most resumes need a lot of updating. And so it never hurts to get another pair of eyes or to relook at your document and just make sure that's ready for this next round. So first of all, you want to make sure that's updated and modern. In other words, if you have been using the same resume for 10, 15, 20 years, it's probably time to relook at it, revisit the style, revisit the font, the way things are organized on the page, and to make sure that's updated with the most recent information. You want to make sure that it's targeted towards your field, using appropriate keywords and industry terminology. So literally just today, I was talking with a former student, a current alum who is looking for a new job in medical sales. And we wanted to make sure that her resume very specifically targeted that field. Now, some of you may be looking to apply outside of your current industry, or you might be transitioning from the military, in which case you want to make sure that your wording is relatable to the recruiters that are going to be looking at it. So if you are, let's say you were managing a retail store and you want to move into human resources, you probably want to de-emphasize accounting, finance, real store management, and very much emphasize staff management, hiring, terminating, training, those kind of human resources aspects of your job that are going to make it read better, read stronger to a human resources recruiter. So keep that in mind. We are also here to help with this process. So if you have questions about how to update your resume, how to make it look more modern, how to relate it to your next step, know that we are here available. We can meet with you by Zoom. We can meet with you over the phone. We can talk over email. We also did a presentation last semester on modernizing your resume, and that should be available on the alumni page. You can check that out as well, but do know we're here to help. Secondly, LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is becoming a very important part of this process. So it's really serving as a companion piece to your resume. It's how a lot of recruiters may be able to find you, and it's a way they can get more information about your background and skills. And so I am a big proponent of LinkedIn. I get a lot of people kind of rolling their eyes at me. The last thing they want is another social media platform. I understand it, but I do think LinkedIn, if you were going on the job search, LinkedIn is very important for you to get familiar with. We're going to talk about later how to use LinkedIn specifically for the job search. But right now is a good time to take a look at your profile. If you don't have one, create one. It doesn't take very long. If you do have one, make sure it's updated. Make sure that's current. Make sure that the way that you describe yourself, the way that you use your headline and your summary is targeted towards your next step or targeted towards your field. And that the job description and the skills that you put on there complement what we see on your resume, if not expand on them. You can also add a portfolio of materials, if that's appropriate for your industry, onto LinkedIn. This would be a really good time to trade endorsements and recommendations to go on your LinkedIn page. That can provide a lot of firepower for your positions and a lot of extra kick to your profile. All right, so now with that said, let's talk about a few of the tools that I suggest when I'm working with a student or with an alumni looking for a new position. There's a large variety of tools, so I'm going to kind of categorize them in 3 different ways. First of all, are what we call the job aggregators. These are primarily websites that will do a lot of the searching for you. So you put in a search criteria. Let's say you're going to put in sales professional in Cleveland, Ohio. And then it will search typically individual organizations' job listings, other job boards, other postings, and then present to you a finding based on relevancy. You can get a lot of information and cover a lot of ground with these tools. They're probably my favorite ones and what I would suggest using the most as part of this process, but there's a lot of them. The most popular ones are the 5 that you see here on the page, and they all work pretty much the same. Some of them will have different bells and whistles, some of them will have additional features, but for the most part, they are all going to work the same, but they do provide different results. So I don't think one is necessarily better than the others. I would use all 5 of these as part of your tools because they will give you different responses, even if you type in the exact same search criteria. So Indeed.com, Simply Hired, Glassdoor, LinkUp, which is probably the newest one on the list, and then jobs.google. This is basically Googling jobs, and then it has a little app that is their job app. Most of these are available as either an iOS or an Android app, and they can be really powerful. But there are some tricks in how to use these because it can be a pretty overwhelming amount of information. So first of all, I've just did a quick screenshot. So a quick screenshot of a search I did for internal audit positions in St. Louis. So a few things that I'm really going to point out. Now, this is Indeed, but what we're going to talk about is good for any of these sites. It doesn't matter if you're using Simply Hired, Glassdoor, LinkUp, or Indeed. The simplicity of these job aggregators hide the real power that they have. And so a couple things I'm going to suggest. First of all, this what area is really powerful. Really play with different search criteria. So the perfect job for you may not fall under one job title. There may be 10 different job titles that it has. So in that what section, you can not only put specific job titles, but you can put specific companies. You could put a specific skill set that you have. Let's say that you're familiar with Adobe Photoshop or you're familiar with Salesforce. You can just use that as your search criteria. So really play with that what. Find the combination of search criteria that really begets the highest yield. And then keep in mind the where can be as specific as a zip code, or you can leave it out entirely and search the entire United States, or you can look within an entire state. You can look within a city. The where is optional, and you can be as broad or specific as you need to be. Now you will notice in this example, one of the jobs invites you to apply directly through Indeed. So in all of these sites, you can upload your resume or you can fill out a profile, and then you can sometimes apply for these positions directly through Indeed. If given the choice, avoid applying through these sites. Always try to go directly to the company or to the organization's job page and apply through their system. The reason why is a lot of times these sites will change your information. Not necessarily change the content, but they might change the format of your resume or the look of your resume into something that you may not want. And there's a lot of spam applications where people just go through and quickly apply for as many jobs as they can. Those aren't quality applications. So we don't know if the recruiter is really checking these Indeed resumes as much as we know they're checking their own company's organization's HR site's resume. We don't know if they're checking these. So if given the choice, always go straight to the organization's HR and use whatever system that they have. Sometimes they do outsource this process to Indeed or Glassdoor, and you may not have another choice, in which case that's fine. But if given the choice, try not to apply through Indeed. They'll really try to make you do it, but avoid it if possible. Secondly, think of this as a search engine. In other words, for this example, let's say you were looking for an internal audit position and you see that Centene, which is I think a medical software company in St. Louis, is hiring. Now you may be beyond the first level. You may be looking for more advanced stuff, in which case use this so you know that that's what they're hiring for. You know that they have those job openings. Jump to their HR site and see what else they have. It's also a good way to make sure that positions you see in Indeed are still valid. Sometimes they do linger in some of these search engines for longer than they're truly open. And if that's the case, their website is more likely to be updated than Indeed or simply hired any of these guys. So not only are you using these systems to look for specific jobs, but you're also using them to look for potential employers in your field, maybe places that you didn't even think of that are looking for your position. You will also find, this direct example is not a good example, but maybe you might find additional job titles that fall under this field. And if that's the case, plug that new job title back into the what and see what else you can get. And then you can also qualify the what. So you can put things like, right now I'm working with a lot of students that are coming up to graduation. So we put things like new graduate, college graduate, entry level, internal audit, accountant, whatever is appropriate. So you can put those kind of qualifiers. You could also use experienced, you could use veteran, you could use any other kind of keywords that can help refine and make sure that your yield is more specific to your situation. So you can see that even though it looks very simple, there's some ways to really make sure that you're maximizing your use out of this. You can sign into a lot of these. Just be warned, if you do give them an email, they will send you a lot of information, especially if you sign up for a job alert. Some folks are okay with that, but it is a pretty surprising amount of info. So just know I've had some students complain about sort of an overwhelming amount of information. So use that kind of sign-in feature to your discretion. All right, so the next group of search tools I like to talk about are job boards. So unlike job aggregators, which will go to the individual site, and pull out job listings that will be on the company's site, these are sites where company or employers will pay to have their position posted for a finite amount of time. Some of the more popular ones, Handshake, which is Columbia College's system, I'll talk about that in a second. ZipRecruiter, Monster, you've probably heard of, Career Builder, two of the bigger ones. LinkedIn kind of serves as a job board. And then some niche ones like The Ladders, which serves folks looking for 100,000 or more. These boards can be really, really fruitful. There can be a lot of great information on here. I've moved away, especially from Monster and Career Builder, just because the amount of spam that's on there. And there's been some pretty worrying incidents of scams that have been on there. Generally, if something looks too good to be true, it usually is. That doesn't mean that those don't exist on these other sites that we'll talk about, but they seem to be more prevalent on Monster and Career Builder. So I've kind of moved away from really recommending those sites. I do think Handshake and LinkedIn are really strong. And I have had some students use ZipRecruiter, Monster and Career Builder to success, but not as much as I hear them using Indeed and Simply Hired. So I do tend to push students to using those job aggregator sites a little bit more. I do want to talk about Handshake. So this is Columbia College's system. It is available to all students and alumni, regardless of when you graduated. If you graduated, I think in 2012 and beyond, then you will have access. Your name is probably already in Handshake. If you graduated prior to that, you just need to go to ccis.joinhandshake.com. If someone could write that in the chat. And then just request. You can use whatever email. And if you don't remember your CC email or your password, that's fine. Just use your name, whatever email address you want to use. And then we just verify that you are an alum and we let you in and you can use the system without any constraint. Handshake is specifically good, both for internships and for new graduates and for kind of early career professionals. There is some senior and mid-level work that you can find on there, but just by the nature of it, who they serve, it's a little bit more for that entry level. However, there's still some powerful tools within there that you can use no matter what level you're at. For instance, this is so when you log in as a student or as an alum, it's going to ask you to create a profile if you haven't done so already. And then this is a student view. It works like a job search. So I just did a quick look for finance in Chicago. You can see all sorts of great positions in there. But one thing that students don't, I think, utilize as much as they should is this employers tab. So there are probably hundreds of thousands of employers that have used Handshake. Once they use Handshake once, they kind of join the employer database and they're accessible to anyone using Handshake. And so it is a great way for you to find potential employers in your targeted area. So again, if you're looking for a finance position in Chicago, you can see there's 34 jobs available. Not bad. Certainly check these out, take a look. But there's going to be a lot more employers that qualify as finance companies in Chicago. And if they were in Handshake, it means at some point they were looking for help. So that can be a great way for you to source potential employers and then jump to their website and see if they have anything available. So I really like that aspect of Handshake. I don't think it gets used quite as much, but can be really powerful as you're looking, especially for those smaller, more out of the way companies that might be a little bit hard to find. Same idea, if you do find a position on here, sometimes it will give you a choice to apply through Handshake. I would still suggest you go directly to the company's website and always try to apply through their situation. All right, the third group is kind of a mix of all sorts of different resources. And this is a very small sampling of what's out there, because there's a lot of this. So first of all, these are mainly specialty boards. So they fall into a few different categories. First is geographic. So for instance, every state's Department of Labor, whatever they call themselves in your state, will have their own job board. There might be city-specific job boards. There may be county job boards, things that are very geographic in nature. More common are professional ones, so things that will focus on a specific industry. These are some of the bigger ones that come to mind. Dice.com, which is all about technology, programmer, systems analysis, anything like that. Dice is huge. They typically have tens of thousands of positions on there at any given time at all levels. Idealist is all for nonprofits. If you're interested in working for a nonprofit, Idealist is a great place to go. If you're transitioning military, recruitmilitary.com is a fantastic resource that not only has lots of job listings, but it'll help you as you translate your military experience into civilian terminology. They've got some great resources on that. Media Bistro for media and journalism, US Jobs if you want a job with the federal government. And there's tons and tons more of these professional job sites. Some of them are great, some of them not so great. But if you do have a specific area that you're interested in, let me know, and I might have some additional resources for you. Then there's also your professional associations, and these can be really fruitful sites to look at. So whatever field you're in, there's likely a professional association that represents your field, and there will be great, typically they have a job board on their site. So a few examples, if you're an accountant, if you're a CPA, every state has a CPA association. Here in Missouri, it's mocpa.org, and they have a great job board with lots and lots of listings all throughout the state at every level, from internship to experienced. And I really push students towards those. There's some additional focus ones, like if you're freelance or you want to work more on a gig basis or more on a contract basis, there's some really good sites. Fiverr, 2 hours, is one of the more popular ones. Not surprising, in the last year, we see an uptick in student or folks that want to work from home or remote positions. And so we're seeing some of the websites respond to that. You can qualify a search, for instance, in Indeed or in Handshake. You can say remote or you can say virtual, and it will spit out those. But there are also some specific sites that cater to that. Remotive.io and flexjobs.com are probably the biggest ones. And there's lots more of these. So again, whatever your situation is, just let me know. And we may have some additional resources for you. All right, so I talked a little bit about LinkedIn earlier, but it is kind of a unique role because it kind of counts as a job board, but it really counts as kind of all of what I talked about. And I'm a big proponent of LinkedIn. I just think it's very helpful. I've seen a lot of students and alumni use it to a lot of success. So if you're on LinkedIn, great. If you're not on LinkedIn, I'll encourage you to drop by. But some ways that you can use LinkedIn and help in your job search. First of all, if there are employers that you're interested in, make sure you're following them on LinkedIn. Oftentimes, the first place they'll announce openings is on LinkedIn. And of course, you'll be able to get more information about the company's direction, vision, accomplishments, whatever they deem as important. They're going to be promoting that on LinkedIn, and you can tune into what their talking points are. You can connect directly with recruiters. So let's say you want to work for Morgan Stanley. Find the Morgan Stanley recruiters in your area and connect with them. They will often be willing to connect with people they may not know yet, but that helps them. They usually want to have a pretty wide yield that they can search through. So feel free to reach out to those recruiters, connect with them, start a conversation with them, share with them your information, and that can be really, really powerful. You can join professional groups and take advantage of LinkedIn Learning. They've really expanded it over the last year. I think some of that's at cost and then some of that is free. So just keep an eye out for those opportunities, ways to expand your skill set and learn new skills. And then utilize the CC alumni page. And that's what this screenshot is. So you can see we've got almost 54,000 alumni that are part of our alumni page. And pretty much no matter what part of the country, what area that you want to go into, we have alumni doing it. Okay, can you hear me? Keith is fighting back by muting me. I hear you. See you. Okay. And so the alumni page offers a lot of great information. So you can keep track, of course, what's going on at CC. You can connect with other alumni, join a conversation, all sorts of great stuff. So if you aren't part of it, you can see the URL here, and a great way for you to stay in touch with CC, but also take advantage of a pretty powerful alumni network that we have. All right. And then one last thing that I'm really going to encourage folks to take advantage of is, not surprising, in the last year, we have had a wide number of virtual events pop up. So these are replacing in-person virtual events. I think once we get back to being able to see each other in person, that's not going to eliminate in-person career fairs or networking events, but I think these are here to stay, these virtual events, because they're so cost effective and they can reach such a broader audience that I think these are really going to become a permanent part of the landscape. So there's different types of virtual events, job fairs, organization informational sessions, networking events, grad school information. These are fantastic. They're typically free. They typically don't need advanced technology. Whatever you're using right now to log into this webinar, it's probably going to be enough. They can be a little tricky to find. So Handshake is really good. We have over 100 events listed on there right now. In all sorts of different industries. LinkedIn, another great place to find these. Career Echo, ECO, is one of the leading companies, along with Brazen, are probably two of the leading companies that are offering these virtual events, and you can just go directly to the website and they'll advertise what they have going on. And then Recruit Military, if you are current military or transitioning or veteran, they've got a huge number of free fairs that are catered towards you. They even have fairs for spouses and for family members as well. So keep that in mind. When you attend these events, do dress up like you would for a real interview, especially at least your top half. You can be like me, wearing sneakers, don't tell, but at least look professional for the camera. Be in a quiet, distraction-free area, and then make sure you take notes and then treat it like an in-person. Make those connections, connect with them on LinkedIn. As soon as you're done, write thank yous, follow up, send your resumes. But it can be a really great way for you to directly network with HR reps and companies that otherwise might be hard to reach, especially nowadays. All right, well, that does it for my presentation. I will be happy to take any questions that you have. If you have to go or you want to email your question, you can see our general email address is careerservices@ccais.edu. That's monitored by our whole staff, so we'll be able to get in touch with you pretty quickly. Our direct phone number, you can find additional information on our website. And then I do encourage you to check out Handshake as well. You can see the link to that. Feel free, since I pushed LinkedIn so much, feel free to connect with me. I'll be happy to connect with you on LinkedIn. And then we do resume reviews, interview preps. We can review your LinkedIn profile. We can strategize for your job search. If you are unsure about your next steps, we have resources that can help kind of illuminate different pathways for you. We are available all year round. We can talk over Zoom, we can talk over the phone. If you happen to be local and we can see each other in person, we can do that as well. So whatever's the best way for us to connect, feel free to reach out to us. And overall, thank you guys so much for going. So I will hold off for questions. Someone asked in the chat about CV support. Absolutely. We've helped some students and some alumni with CVs. They're a very different animal, as you know, from just a normal resume. So we would be happy to work with you on your CV. You can just get in touch with us and probably set up a time. You can also, if you don't have time to talk with us directly, you can also just send us materials at Career Services. And then we typically get back to folks in 1 to 3 business days with comments, suggestions, edits. If you need to get started on your resume, if it's been a long time or you just don't have one yet, that's fine. We do have templates for different stages. So just let us know what you're interested in and we can share with you a template to help you get started. Keith, you are still muted if you're talking. You can see in the chat that both this presentation and past career presentations are available on the alumni webpage. And again, we've done presentations on resume writing. We've got one coming up on interviewing. Tiffany, maybe you can type in. I think you did one last semester and it's just escaping me right now. But those are all available, as well as other topics are available on the alumni page.